Ses. Evet.
Bunlar çalışıyor mu şu an?
İstediğiniz sorudan başlayabilirsiniz.
Ses. Çalışıyor. Açık şu an. Başarılar diliyorum.
Söylemedim size ya. Yollamadım mı size? Yok abi, kariyerimin son oturumunu yapmış olmayayım burada. Bence yavaştan giriş yapalım. Herkese merhabalar. Öncelikle sabrınız için 2 günlük bu yoğun etkinliğin ikinci gününün son oturumunda bizi yalnız bırakmadığınız için teşekkür ederim.
Well, thank you very much for being in the last session of the day. I am the General Secretary of the association and I'm going to guide this session that will take place for 1 hour and a half. We'll talk about a lot of opportunity windows and the threats. I have very valuable speakers and we're all talking about the issues. We have heard already the perspectives of the storage sector and also the regulation sector, and now we will talk and hear the ideas of the turbine sector. We'll discuss the future of the coming 10 years and as well the capacities. We will as well just profoundly talk about the opportunities and we will discuss the threats, if exists any. Next coming 10 years will bring a really high work burden. We have already targets for 2025. Distinguished Minister has already declared the objectives. We have 30 gigawatt renewable power, installed power, and we will increase it by 4 times for the coming 10 years. And we will see a similar situation for the wind power. So when we reach to 2035, how come we see this power? So as you may know that the 13,000 is already on the market that is generating for the service sector. However, starting from today, 20,000 will be for the pre-license, and as well when we add the extensions on the top of it. And also we have some constructions that are ongoing, and then we would see that we reach to 37,000 of the planned 50,000. So it is now in our hands. It is going to be developed. So on the public side, at least, we can claim that we do our best. Also, we have installed capacity. On the left side of the table, you would see the journey of Turkey for the last 20 years. And distinguished leaders are representing the sector. And their companies are actually representing the whole sector. And the 25,000 capacity will be covered with this portfolio. This is the beautiful part of the coin. The pipeline, as well, is discussed in this session. Normally, so there is a high capacity demand. We have the energy market and the cyber security issues related with the sector, and 25,000 megawatt is the expected installed power, and we will try to understand what they will bring. I'm going to be the moderator of the session. I am planning to ask 3 or 4 questions. Let me start with the first question. It is a general question. On the third round, if the time is left, I'll continue with other questions. On LinkedIn, I have also collected your questions. There are common questions that are asked and people are curious about. So my questions also contain the questions of the people on LinkedIn. My first question would be to Miss Ebru. She's the only lady among us. And also, I would kindly ask you to introduce yourself first, please. So, by the way, we are talking about the 25 billions of a market, and in the coming 10 years, they are going to just make somehow their declarations. So, just please tell us, how would you evaluate it? Do you have any preparations? As you may know, 25 megawatt, it cannot reflect on the field 100%. I'm sure that there would be some projects that are going to be eliminated. So, could you please tell us how would you maximize the aims, and also please just tell me your best maybe projects. Miss Ebru, you have the floor. Could you please introduce yourself, your company, what do you think about this portfolio? What are the blockages? Thank you very much for this kind introduction, Mr. Iskender. I'm really happy to be with distinguished panelists. Thank you very much. This is the last session of the day, but still the hall is full. So, welcome. Thank you. I understand that everyone is highly interested in what we're going to talk. I am the CEO of Siemens Gavista, Turkey. My name is Ebru Çiçekli Yurt. I have changed actually my position. Siemens Energy company is another actually group company, and I am now the CEO of this company as well myself. So this is a technology company, wind energy for both onshore and offshore technologies. In addition to that, well, we have low and zero emission energy generation, and natural gas and alternative fuels are included into that. Energy storage is also part of it. We call it a grid technology. And also we have industrial processes. We are aiming to improve the energy efficiency and to lower the energy emissions. This is what we focus on. Hydrogen technology, electrolyzers technologies are all part of the sector. Also, we have services and a service package. It's called the transformation of industries. So we work in 90 countries. We have 98,000 employees. In 2023, total turnover was 31 billion euro, and also work input was 51 billion euros. And the total actually order, which is not realized, it is called backlog, it is 112 million euros. So every year, 1 billion euro is our R&D investment. So we are highly technology focused company. Siemens Gamesa have annual turnover of 11 billion euros for onshore and offshore, including the services, and also our carbon footprint is 141. It is mainly onshore. So we have more than 30,000 onshore turbines. So we actively give services in the global, and in Turkey, both companies have been actively working in Turkey, and we have many installed actually power fields. So on the global, I have to tell and talk about the greater picture first. Our sector has a great potential of growth. Last November, World Climate Summit was realized, and many countries actually committed to the renewable energy. They have declared that we will increase our installed power by 3 times until 2030, and it is actually official commitment coming from the states. And a majority of this increase will come from the wind and solar. Let me share with you the figures. So for 2022, it was 63 gigabyte for the offshore installed power, and in 2032, it will reach to 94 gigabytes. And in 2022, 836 was the figure for the onshore installed power, but 8 years after it reached to 3,000 gigawatts. Well, of course, we need public regulations and directives as well for realizing it, and its impact will be seen globally in our sector. By the way, wind sector's development has never been such dynamic. I'm talking about the global. We have never seen many projects on the tenders, and many actually wind turbine producers, manufacturers. Now they face with the biggest crisis of all, because on one side there is a boom of the demand, but on the other side there are challenges and the problems. So why do I say so? Well, they cannot make any profit. Many of them, many of the companies. There are some problems here. Some challenges exist globally. Some of them are also present in Turkey. One of the global challenge is the low volume of projects. We have long project development process, and also a long time is required for the permissions. It brings uncertainty, so it melts down the stock of the projects. The total volume cannot be guaranteed, unfortunately, and there is a competition price-wise low. Actually, offers are presented, and it very negatively impacts the whole sector. So there is a competition to the very bottom of this sector. I'm talking about the product prices, by the way, by saying bottom, and by also the summit. What I mean is the technology. The price was the main focus in the past, and the wind was one of the most competitive energy sources. However, the cost of the electric was unsustainable. Unfortunately, it was super low. And to make it up, many OEM of the turbines, they started using more technological turbines. So here we see the technology.
Verimsiz yani başka işin getirisiz bir şekilde ilerlemesine neden oldu.
So
Üçüncü bir etken
the third impact is China.
biraz da Çin oldukça sık gündeme
China
geldi.
was mentioned many times in this conference.
İki kelimeyle ifade etmek yerinde olur.
We can describe China with two words. It is a threat and also a dependency. In China, wind industry, especially in our country, yes, there is a competition, and also the industry in China is supported by their government. It somehow provokes the pricing war, and European supply chain is now dependent on China and Chinese supply chain. Then we are to just make a general calculation of these all. Four biggest turbine producers can produce actually a lot, but still had the damage of $4.9 million of damage, the biggest leader manufacturer. So the profit ratios are really low, lower than expected, because these companies are publicly listed. So it is really strange when we consider especially the climate targets. In terms of profitability, there are two dimensions. One of them is a work model, the other one is the profitability dimension. There are many project risks and there are supplier risks as well, and all these risks are owned now by the producers, and it creates a big pressure on the profitability. Sectoral experience just tells us that this structure should change, and these risks in between OEM and investors should be just shared in a very maybe fair manner, and it brings actually a change on the contract types. Also, there are challenges for the supply chain. We have seen it before, turbine as well, periods. Also, the quality challenges might exist, and it makes the supply of the materials even more complex. So this is a focus point, a potential prevention at the same time. Under the light of this, what do we do? Let me very shortly talk about this. Our main focus is managing the sectoral dynamics, working efficiently and improving the profitability. Yes, we are a publicly listed company. We have stakeholders, we have responsibilities towards them, and we do our best to follow all the obligations. On the onshore, geographically as well, we have defined our focus points. These are now the EU and the USA. And after the results of the election today in the USA, of course, we will closely follow the happenings in the USA. However, we are part of the EU organization. This is the framework that we have. And for offshore, the biggest challenge is the demand that we cannot really satisfy. There is a great demand, and our current footprint cannot really cover it. We cannot satisfy the high need. That's why we will increase the capacity in our facilities in Germany. For service and new units, now we have merged them Until the 1st of October, we had 3 different units for onshore and offshore and service. However, now we have split the service unit to the onshore and offshore. We will have only 2 units so that our teams will work more efficiently in the coming days.
Bu çerçevede
So
seviyeleri azaltan
we will decrease the hierarchy, the tasks would be more clear, the organizational structure would be more linear.
komisyonlarında
Especially for the support functions, now we are combining our powers, logistics, law. These are different support mechanisms, so our sources will be optimized. And this is going to make our operations productive, more productive. Optimization is really important. We have long-term plans, long-term partnership is appreciated. Also, one thing is really important, which is developing new products, both in onshore and offshore. It is an important focus point. Very fiercely, we are working on this segment. It is too early to share the details. We have to wait for the official launching, but just keep following the developments. My question would be how it is going to reflect upon Turkish market. I think that we can expect a stronger organization and an optimized product portfolio. And I believe that it will help out to distinguish investors of our country. And finally, I have talked about the challenges. And if I'm to add a few remarks to that, I can say cheap financing. This is going to be on the top of the list. Finding the cheap financing and the correct contribution share. So these are important. We believe them to be important. They have to be supported. I think that it is really important so that we will have a more flexible structure for international financing and also for the local suppliers. We need actually such a structure. Fair trade principle is as well important. The second important issue is about the energy pricing and logical tariff levels. The bankability is important on that regard. If the projects are blocked, then we would see low tariffs, tariffs that are blocked. So probably we would see more logical maybe practices, or we can even maybe actually work for the inflation, and we can maybe amend and recompensate for the inflation so that we can indirectly impact the investments positively. And quick permissions and permits for the practices are appreciated. All related authorities in an integrated manner can work together and can work on this issue as well together, and digitalization can make it even better. We always talk about visibility in the market. When we are to explain some projects by point, it can help us to just project the future. Big companies can or cannot maybe make any projections related to the future. Just let me give you an example. Every year on November, 2 billions of maybe a tender will be realized. So if this is the case, for example, the market can be more attractive for us, for the global brands. So that's why projectability and visibility are two important points. And finally, my last point would be about the future of this sector. If we are to make it more durable and sustainable, I think that we need a balance for all the shareholders. Investors and OEMs, they all have to make profits, and we need as well feasible project flows so that we can make this market sustainable.
Bunu biz vatandaşlara yansıması da
It is going to reflect upon the
biz
citizens.
kendi kaynaklarımızla üretilen sürdürülebilir ve enerji güvenliğini sağlayan
We
bir
will enable the
enerji
energy
mekanizması
security.
olmalıdır.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ebru. So there are four actually recommendations for the local market and for the global market. We have heard all of them. Thank you very much. Now I'll continue with Mr. Ender. Nordics, has been growing a lot within our country. So, what do you think about the 25,000 megawatts for the future? And could you please also share information about the Nordics? And you're also the vice president of a TREP at the same time. So, what would you say about this market of 25 billion of dollars, and as well the blockages that you foresee for the future?
Merhaba demek istiyorum.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say hello to my colleagues and thank you so much for being with us in the last session of the last day. Of course, we have brought our colleagues from our companies and I'd like to say hello to them. Thank you very much. Ebru Hanım has already summarized the wind market, and that's why I'll skip the same part. I don't want to repeat the same info. If you allow me, I'd like to talk about Nordics and Turkey. Because in Turkey, Nordics has 4.6 gigawatt installed capacity and 1.3 gigawatt is ongoing right now, under construction. So in total, we are the market leader. This is the appreciation of our investors, and we have investors among us. I'd like to thank them again and again for giving this chance to us. In Turkey, we have more than 1,200 turbines, 1,228 as of today. We install them and we provide service with our field teams. It's a really dynamic and young organization, let me tell you this. 39% of our employees participated Nordics in the last 2 years, and layoff rate is really low, less than 6%. It might change in years from 4 to 6%. This current situation could be related to your second question, and this is a big challenge for administrators, managers. We are a team of 500 people. 39% of this team participated in this family in the last 2 years. They are younger than 30 years of age. I was given a training and I asked this question. These young people, how are we going to proceed unless we manage them? They said that you are going to get retired, so we do our best. Wind energy is very open, let's say, in Turkey, and 62% of electricity is targeted to be produced from renewable energy, and wind is going to get a big share. Currently, 11% of the electricity generation comes from the wind energy, and it's going to be 20 or more than 20% in the upcoming decade. As Nordics, and we will do our best in this position as a market leader. On our way to market growth, there are important factors, like you have stated. Factor A is capacity growth, and in capacity increase, what could be the most important effect you have mentioned. The most important effect in capacity is financing, of course. Those who'd like to increase their capacity should find proper finance. And this is what we see here, the models and the solutions of the finance. So the primary factor is capacity increases and the finance solutions. And the secondary thing that can grow the market is YECA. YECA 4 has been announced recently. There was 1, 2, 3, not one actually, 2, 3 were available. Now fourth one has been announced. And what is prioritized in YECA 4th is localization and short duration, and also the costs. These are very crucial. This is the second issue. And on the market as well, we know that stored wind energy power plants with the pre-licensing will be really crucial, because we have still working on the pre-licensing. In the stored power plants, I assume that the most important issue for my colleagues is supply chain. Which components are going to be produced in which country, what is going to be produced in Turkey, what is not going to be produced in Turkey, while turbine producers are now discussing about them. You might ask why, and because the stored energy wind power plants, there is no condition that you have to use local components. With certain YECDAM or certain mechanisms, local component utilization in these turbines is incentivized. However, this is not sufficient. We are trying our best. Turbines, components, and equipments should be clarified where they should be provided, produced. We are currently working on them. And in the future, a service organization is going to be really crucial for us. I'm sure that it's going to be even more important in the future. I see some of my friends from the service unit. Service organization is very crucial, because currently we provide service with 128. And within a year, we're going to reach 250 turbines. So this is a really big number, and it's a big figure. So we have to prepare ourselves for the increasing number of turbines. We are focusing on our training, and there is a service training center in Izmir, 6,000 square meter. We're going to open up a new service center in the vicinity of the already existing one. It's going to have a 50% of growth increase. And last but not least, human resources, labor force. On one side, we have finance and equipment, and also quality HR and access to human labor. We have to retain this people in our company. So with our culture and human resources department, we'd like to recruit new young people to our company. And if people want to work in abroad, we'd like to open up the way for them. Because for us, this is not a loss. On the contrary, it's a big gain. Because in Germany, for instance, you can see 30 people who used to work in Nordics. And in Nordic countries, there are many people from Turkey. In the United States, that's the case. In South African Republic, it's the case. Well, they were recruited here, they were raised and educated here, but then, after a while, they wanted to work in abroad, and we approved their demand. Some of our friends left our company. It's a very low in number, actually, but in Nordics, there's big HR transfer, and this is something that we are proud of. Well, there are three main obstacles you have mentioned. Well, the primary obstacle is that Ebru has already mentioned that, is financing, of course, proper finance, proper access, and reaching it with proper capabilities. This is one of the most important situation. And secondly, external factors in the supply chain, because supply chain is really fragile, and that fragility is triggered with external factors each and every day. Russia and Ukrainian war has disrupted our supply chain all at once. And recently, as you all know, there was the closure of Suez Canal. And again, there came another disruption. We are going on the Hope Cape. So this is really important. External factors on the supply chain are very impactful. It can create shocking effects, and our reflexes, our reactions should be improved. And we can make ourselves less fragile.
Tedarik zincirlerimizi bir ülke ya da bir coğrafyaya değil, değişik ülke ya da coğrafyalara dağılmış hale getirmeye çalışıyoruz.
We need to
Finansman ve
distribute
tedarik
our position
zincirindeki
into different countries. And I mentioned finance and external factors and also predictability. Especially for our country, predictability is very important. This is very tough, as you all know. Today, I'm sure that
en önemli konusu
all of the administrators know this very well. They have to be making plans for the upcoming years. To be predictable in this country,
özeline
it
bakacak
takes
olursak
too much time, and it's really difficult. Specific to wind mechanism, YEKA has been developed. 1.2 megawatt of YEKA has been announced, as the name suggests, 2024 YEKA. As you have stated, we wish to know the numbers of 25, 26, 27. There are applications in this respect in Germany, for instance. They announce a plan of 4 years, in which quarter, what gigawatt tender is going to be open. All the technical specifications are being announced as of today. So along with this announcement, suppliers, vendors do their planning, they plan their HR or supply chain capacities, and they try to develop strategies for Europe. But in Turkey, this is not something that we can do, unfortunately. Currently, for the industry, for the turbine producers,
işler durumda.
we
Bizim
do
de
our
dersen
best only
karar verebilmek
with our own means and capabilities. For us to decide supply chain, we have to be more predictable. Turkey is a very crucial country for Nordics, but Turkian wind energy market is not the biggest market, largest market for wind producers. There are larger markets than Turkey. Turkey only comprises 6 or 7% of our total business volume, and all our supply chain cannot be designed according to the structure in Turkey. So if Turkey becomes predictable, foreseeable, then we can make our strategies better. Yes, thank you so much, Ender. I've taken my notes. We already see and understand expectations and demands are focusing on the same points. Let's go back to Vestas. Mr. Levent is with us. Levent, how do you foresee the upcoming 10 years as Vestas? What do you do on your side? What are the challenges? What can you say? Thank you so much, Iskender. Well, it is always nice to be with my colleagues and friends. It's really nice to exchange information. Last session, last day, thank you so much for your participation. I'd like to thank you very much. Another thanks goes to Turev. I want to congratulate and appreciate Turev because it's a really good quality conference, which is very much needed by our sector. We touch upon important issues. All the discussions are at really good quality. We learn a lot. Being in Turev is something really pleasing. 2 days, 2.5 days, we worked really hard. There are really pleasant days, and well, we have to touch upon correct points, and we have to find solutions. So I'd like to thank the organizers wholeheartedly for their hard work. I don't want to leave it to the end of the session. I wanted to thank in advance, not at the closing session. Well, let me talk about Vestas briefly. Vestas is the company that has installed highest number of turbines in the world. It has activities more than 90 countries in the world. We are a Denmark company, and in Turkey we started to work with our own office in 2018, and currently we have more than 200 payroll employees, and we have 2,000 megawatt installed power. So the story of Vestas is very long and deep. However, the biggest transformation happened in a petroleum crisis period at the end of 1970s. Hansen family, while they used to work in a different sector, they saw the future and they switched into wind turbines. So since then, Vestas has been producing turbines and leading wind energy sector, and is going to be leading this sector in the future as well. This is the case in Turkey as the sector. Well, wind has not become a commodity. It has not come to a saturation level. Currently, there are risks in the wind sector for the producers, because even a minute quality error that can't be controlled might lead very big consequences. Ebru has summarized her expectations for future. By 2030 2035, 2,500 megawatts should be installed. These are really terrifying capacities. Is it going to be feasible? Well, currently we can't say that it's going to be feasible based on our experience, but are we going to install more turbines that we have done so far? Yes, because this is something that we need to do. If we're talking about a sustainable world, on top of our agenda, sustainability should be placed, if that's the case. If we say that Dubai rains and Spain floods affect us, with this climate change we have to do our best. This is not something which is open to discussion. We need to pave the way for more sustainable transformation. Well, of course, how to feed this capacity, from which point? In terms of turbine manufacturing, logistics, HR, labor, what you need to do and how you position yourself matters. Specific to Turkey, geographically speaking, we are at a really nice position. Industry-wise, maybe we have the most powerful industry in the region. As education level, we are one of the best, I believe. So we have all the materials to cook this dish, but we still can't mix the materials, ingredients. We can't make it happen. 20,000 megawatt is the target for us. Normally, we should be able to do it with our own industry. We should have already assumed this responsibility. However, we can't do it because there are uncertainties awaiting for us. And in this kind of meetings, we always talk about uncertainties. Specific to YEKA, let's talk about the fourth version of it, putting aside all the errors and mistakes aside. Certain mechanisms are not very much defined, whether they are financeable or not, bankable or not. We have certain concerns, and for the future, we have good targets. It is really nice to protect these targets, but how to do it? We need to maybe fill in certain gaps together. 25,000, could it be done? Yeah, it could be done. If you exclude local industry demand from YEKDAM, it could be done. But if you want to do it with local industry, local capital, and cheap labor in a fast and quality manner, unfortunately, there is no such a world in the sector. So you have to compromise from some of your wishes. Because turbines do grow, yes, but along with this growth, there comes a lot of risks. Our friends know this very well. A blade, when it is harmed or has certain quality problems, if you'd like to demount it and put it into a different place, it's really difficult. The cost is something that you can't do very well. For that reason, how to install the ecosystem, where to install the ecosystem should be defined in a really meticulous way. As Vestas, we do our best. We are refraining from making mistakes. We don't have the luxury to make mistakes because I am doing my best. I'd like to close the session with a single digit in the globe, but Ebru has said this very well. As a sector, if we want to grow, we need to do it together. OEM with full risks, OEM with all the responsibilities can't sustain themselves. If we are talking about sustainability, we have to say this. And the capacity is, of course, nice, but I saw a session result of 2015 trip. It was saying that 20,000 megawatts of 2023, but that target wasn't realized. That target could have been made more approachable if we had continued with Yekdam version first. If the already functioning system was continued, we could have come to this level. However, we were chasing after different things and there came bottlenecks with no additional advantages. For a company to take decisions for making investments in a country is a really tough decision, and to exit is another decision as well. Important thing is to keep those companies here investing. They should continue growing here, and the ecosystem should be made sustainable. Unfortunately, I'm saddened to say this, it's not happening. In Turkey, Yeka's other versions will come. Well, what's going to be the megawatt level? Is it going to be with this technical specification, or else is it going to be changed? Well, on my behalf, I can say this. In the upcoming 5-year period, Yekas should be announced from now on. We should see what's going to happen. We are ready to incentivize the local industries because generators and blades have already been localized. We have established our factories here, but based on the conjunctural and global changes, unless you grow this volume, you can't compete with others. Our suppliers have already said this to us, and we know this very well. Well, the manufacturing of an equipment based on euros can increase more than 3 times within 2 years.
Haliyle ucuz değil.
So it's not cheap actually to produce in here. So we need actually re-preparation and we need to see it. So maybe I should stop here. Thank you very much. So I'll ask the same question finally to Mr. Arif. Mr. Arif was responsible of the energy. He's the previous president, actually. So you know the experience in Turkey. You also have the head of investor. You are one of the first turbine providers within the country. So that's why I will ask you about the reflection of this high capacity over the field, please. Mr. Arif, you have the floor, please. We would like to hear your most common problems also. Thank you very much. This is the last day and as well the last session. Thank you very much for a kind invitation. Being the last speaker is actually making me change my notes constantly because what I was planning to say was said already by distinguished previous speakers. So I all agree with what was said before. Thank you very much for your kind energy, for being and for listening to us. Thank you. Let me introduce Enercon. We are a German company and we are active in Turkey in the last 27 years. We are one of the most active companies actually in the sector. We started working in 1999 for the first time. So right now we have 3 gigawatts installed power and 1.5 gigawatt is our portfolio which is under construction. When we look from the global perspective, we are over 63 kilowatt installed power. So we have 33 turbines. The number of the employees that we have is 13,500. And in Turkey, this figure is 700. So Turkey is an important market for us. Since 2020, both in Middle Asia and in Africa, as well I was responsible of, we give service to many regions from Turkey. We are based in Turkey. So until 2030, we will cover larger regions and continents, especially Middle East, Africa, and Middle Asia. I'm saying it's so because the volume, of course, may not us to feel excited when we consider the volumes only, when we just think of the current situation of our country. We need a stable and as well in a position that we can make our estimations correctly. We would like to create a past, and we would like to create an added value. Actually, this is what we do, and this is what we plan to do. European companies maybe are different on that regard, on this sense, than the other countries. Wind energy sector is a correct sector, I believe, and it is open for further progress. Its development cannot be stopped. People who work in the sector can be sure that they are in the correct sector. We have job guarantee for sure. One of the main reasons is the climate change. And also, Mr. Levent has talked about the reason why. Also, in many other geographies, the main reason of the wars are sourced by the natural sources. So the countries and the big volumes of the EU can get the independence of energy. So when we say wind energy, one of the reasons is the climate change, but also be independent in terms of the energy dependency. So we have to regulate it, all the natural sources. We would like to foresee the future ourselves, and we would like to go to the future like that. And of course, we have another factor. We get the source from the source, but we would like to just turn it to the energy. So let's just think of the costs, and these costs, of course, will create an added value. All the countries, including the EU, yes, they will use these machines either in Europe or in the peripheral geography, and this is where it is going to be used. Another important factor is energy efficiency, or correct usage of energy. And when we look at the world, we might slowly see it, but especially in the Western world, both for the industry and for the industry, as we have Industry 4.0. Electricity energy is the main source for the households, for sure. Another main factor is e-mobility. So it is open now more, and and we won't have mobile actually tools anymore. Renewable energy and electricity is quite meaningful, and it is our primary energy source. It is actually main source. Thank you, Turep. We are in the correct sector, this is for sure. What type of an added value we create can be questioned. Turkish engineers, Turkish technicians. Well, I might consider myself one of the oldest guys in this sector. I remember that even we would bring actually the teams from other countries. Now we export it actually. Our friends used to go to the training, but now we give training to the technicians. So we now teach instead of receiving the education. We have the know-how. We are very proud of this. On the first day, the commission head of the commission as well, mentioned it. This is going to continue, this story. This ecosystem will continue. This is important for the employment. Well, when we look at the situation at the moment, we see that we are not players there, none of us. The main reason is that they're coming from majorly from Middle East. Excels or the financial figures are ahead majorly, and the natural sources of the country is used, and there is no added value actually, and value addition. You're using the energy of a country, but you give no added value. So is this really what we would like to have? This is the question. Cheap electricity, yes, we can do it like this. In the short term, we can have such maybe target, but is it healthy for the short term? We have to look in the middle term. If I'm to maybe summarize more, one of our biggest target is finishing the current projects that we have. This is one of the problems in Turkey. Get 9 kilowatt installed power is going to be for the first time. Actually, at the moment, hopefully, our friends also will do it. Equipment, subcontractors. Well, we are now on the very limits, actually. Mr. Levent has said it, explained it very well. But is it really the case? In Turkey, many investors are acting very easily, quickly. So, do we have such actual infrastructure? It is something that we have to actually talk and think. Mr. Ebru has also said it very well. The turbines are growing, and we are demanded many actual turbines. We do our best to just give the best service. So we used to have the prototypes, right? We would have worked on them for a few years because it's a machine, and we would have just sold them afterwards. But now we have a high competition. It is beyond expectation now. We are now within this actually competition, and we have to be really careful. This is highly important. So especially for the actually infrastructures, I have to say it. How many ports do we have for import and export? It is very limited. We have to reconsider it. We have more than 1,200 turbines. The third is the project and the services and the sales, of course. So we would like to serve the best product into the market as quick as possible, and we are preparing ourselves for YEKA. Hopefully, we will make the dream come true. I've already talked about the impairments, and there are things that our friends have not mentioned, maybe. One of the impediment is financing and the logistics. Of course, these are really important, and the permits. But the most important one is, probably Mr. Ender has mentioned it, high quality personnel. Well, as company, yes, our friends should go to the other countries. We do support it. We have just hundreds of friends. We see ourselves as a school, but sometimes we want them to return. There are things that we have to do, and finding high quality, qualified personnel is not easy. It just requires time. That's true, and also we have generational difference. So as the directors, we really have to just be focusing on that. You need to estimate everything. You can prepare yourself when you actually prepare yourself. Unfortunately, in Turkey, we cannot see it, and we cannot take reactions. It's just like actually for us putting out the fire, but we should be thinking about how not to cause a fire. Career plans are important, and this is very important. Estimation is important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we have concluded the first tour, and in the second tour, I'll kindly ask you to please speak shorter. Let's continue with Mr. Ender. Nordex, as you may know, it is the market leader now in Turkey. In the statistics, you have a fast growth, and there is a serious margin ahead of us. You have a lot to do, I believe. So my question would be, you are part of the highly enlarging market, but is it a pressure or comfort area? So For the Turkish industry, also you are a customer. Annually, it is 1 million euro. You have already shared the figures. If I'm to make a reference to the previous speech, you do not only supply a product into the domestic market, but also you feed the ecosystem, right? So it's not only bringing the turbines from other countries. You are the market leader and you continue to be the market leader. So, what would you say about this? What should be the expectations for you? So, I would kindly ask you a very quick response, please. Thank you very much. First question is being a market leader. Is it a pressure or a motivation? I would say that it is actually a great pressure. Valuable participants. If you are a market leader in any industry, then you are also obliged to protect your position. No matter in which sector you work, you should have the aim of protecting your position. You do your analysis, you draw the route. So this is the case in our sector, and also this is the case for other sectors. The references should be made, and thankfully, in our company, we are in this position. Yes, it is actually an element of pressure. I feel under too much pressure to protect this leadership. We do our best. So, yes, this is the case. It's not an area of comfort. I'm curious what your colleagues think of. Mr. Mutlu is here. We can ask to him. So, yes, you feel the pressure, but your colleagues seem to be happy. So, it is a positive, I think, point for you, right? Yes, that's true. That's true. I'm glad that we are somehow preventing the pressures. So, this is my first remark. The second thing is about the supply chain.
Well, we presume that the market is going to grow in Turkey. If something comes in our way, Nordics will continue growing in Turkey. But is it going to happen in our current supply chain, or else is it going to be in a different level? We can't predict this. In the predictability part, we said this, it can't be predicted, and I'll try my best. Let me mention it. Yes, we have a supply chain. We have a lot of factories in many places all around the world. We have factories in Turkey, Spain, South Africa, Mexico, and Far Eastern countries. We do have factories in China, and in Morocco we are going to open up a new factory. Well, we have a really wide supply chain in the world. In the supply chain, the conditions that we activate should be supported with the best service network and most developed products. In Turkey, we are the largest buyer. 2.2 billion is the wind energy market, and $1.1 billion has been purchased by Nordics. And it is not only purchased by it, 600 million euros of it is exported to other countries. We are an important exporter. Well, in the future, it's going to be evolved into some other things.
Bu haziranı buraya getiren, türev gibi bir yapılanmanın oluşmasına sebep olan, akabinde böyle bir endüstriyi oluşturan
There are more than 300 vendors in the sector, 150 sub-vendors, and more than 50,000 employees
dayanan sanayimizi korumak için elimizden
in
geleni
this
yapıyoruz.
industry, and we do our best
Fakat
to
eğer bir
protect
gün
this sector. But
tedarik
if one day
zincirimizi başka ülkelere
something
dayandırmak
happens
zorunda kalırsak,
so that we
rekabet
need
gücümüzü
to
korumak için
switch the supply
bu
chain
konuda
to other countries
mutlaka
to protect
çekeceğiz.
our competitive
Çünkü neticede
strength,
burası
we will not
Almanya,
refrain from
Almanya'nın
doing this
tüzel bir
because this
işletme
is
ve
a
önceki
commercial
şirketin hissedarlarının
facility
varlıklarını
which
korumak,
is already open to public in
konumlanmasını
Germany. Our
çalışıyoruz.
priority is to protect the
Tesisatlar
financials of the company. We are not a charity institution, and we work for the protecting the interests of our shareholders. And we are active in Turkey.
Avrupa
We are
sorumlu
Turkish.
Turbine Bey'in
Our European CEO is Ibrahim Bey, and our colleagues' primary business is, of course, to our best since 2015 YEKTEM announcement. We'd like to protect this industry. We do our
ben aynı
best.
zamanda TÜREP'te sanayiden sorumlu başkan yardımcısı
I
olarak
am the
böyle
vice
bir
president
sorumluluk
of
görevi
industry in
2 senedir
TÜREP,
yaklaşık
and
almıştım.
I was
Umarım
overtaken this
önümüzdeki
position
dönemde
from
de
my beloved
Türkiye
colleague in the
tedarik
past, and
zincirimizi
I hope
büyütebiliriz.
that we can
Ancak burada
make the
bizim
supply chain grow in
karar
Turkey in
verici
the upcoming
olduğumuz
years, but we are
etkenler
not
var.
the
Bir takım
decision
etkenler
makers.
yani
There are certain factors.
ürünlerin teşvik
Local
mekanizmaları,
products
sürdürülebilirliği,
should
YEKTEM
be
mekanizması,
stopped just giving incentives, and
mekanizması,
YEKA mechanisms. We
göreceğiz.
need to see how these
Şu
are
anda
going to
sektörün
grow.
önündeki en büyük pipeline, en büyük proje ağı olan
The biggest pipeline
17 gigawatt
of the sector
depolı rüzgar enerji santralleri
is
mevcut tedarike
17 gigawatt
o
stored
santraller
wind
için ekipmanları,
power
tanımı
plants,
ve benzeri yurt dışından
equipments, blade, or the tower, where they should be procured from Turkey or abroad. We need to discuss. We don't have much time, that's why we have to switch to other panelists. We'd like to thank you so much. Ebru, you have mentioned this, but once again, I'd like to ask you this question. In the midst of last year, Siemens Gamesa became an affiliate to Siemens Energy, and if you think about Siemens Energy and bring these structures together, what's going to happen in Turkey at the end of this reintegration process? What's going to happen? Well, you'll see synergy. Siemens Gamesa will be a part of a big energy and technology company, especially decarbonization, energy transformation areas are the ones that we are more focusing. So new technology studies will be carried out: green hydrogen, and alternative fuels, different grid technologies, storage technologies.
bir çiftlerin kullanacağı bir one stop shop
It's
gibi
like a
birçok
one-stop shop.
teknolojinin tek şirketten
A lot of
alınabileceği
technologies could be
yeri
procured
burada
from a single
oluşuyor. Böyle
company.
bir avantajı
So
var.
it has
Ayrıca bu
such
yeni şu anda Ar-Ge pipeline'ında olan
an advantage. And on our pipeline,
geliştirmesi yapılan teknoloji
there are technologies to be
uygulaması
developed.
konusunda da
And in
Türkiye'nin
terms of their
potansiyel
application,
olarak çok
there
yüksek.
could be a potential in our
Yeni
country.
çiftlerin kullanacak teknoloji anlamında early adapter,
Because
yani erken
Turkey
benimseyen bir
is
ülke
an
olarak
early
görüyoruz.
adapter in
Dolayısıyla burada
technology,
yüksek bir
so
potansiyel
there is
olacak diyoruz.
going to be a high potential. Well, we'll watch you, of course, and we are excited to see what's going to happen. Okay, I'll give the floor to Levent. Levent, Vestas is active in Europe, and Vestas is leading in European region. As of last year, 30% of the market belong to you. 1 out of 3 turbines belongs to you, roughly speaking. So when you think about the industry ecosystem which is utilized by your competitors, and when you evaluate your strong muscles, is Turkey a prioritized country for you, for your targets? And when you consider big capacity, can Turkey be a good candidate for you and for your company? Well, I tried to mention this in the beginning. Well, Turkey, as of its position, it's always successful and strong candidate. As long as there are proper regulations, we are going to continue our investments. We already had our investments in Turkey, but this process, if it is disrupted or interrupted, because investors might ask full ECA turbines from abroad. But if I say to them it should be 50 local, 50 EC, I can't say this to them. This bottleneck should be overcome, and we have to take a decision here. Well, this country, if it really wants to build a really successful and strong wind sector, all this capacity should be facilitated. If it is done, as you have mentioned, we are the market leader of many geographies, and we are a company that takes wind turbines to many geographies, and we are a company that develops turbines in many geographies. And we will not refrain from doing this because this is a geography that we know there are less risks than other alternative countries. As long as this predictability and volume issue could be made certain, everything is going to be okay. If they say, okay, let's do this and do that at the same time, if you want to carry all the glasses together, you can't hold them. They will fall off and break into pieces. But it's the difference of Europe. They don't have financing problem. This is the biggest issue. Well, you undersign a document at the very end. The company is ready to get the agreement with the financing institution. This culture is already settled. Well, this has been proven with this experience. Currently, there are turbines that wait for the installation because of the licensing issues. Project can't be sustained. Predictability was normally 2 days, but then it became 2 years. Well, if you eliminate all these obstacles, well, please take it as a positive message. In this country, there is huge potential, and we can do this all together. But again, unfortunately, there are some barriers, and those barriers should be lifted. So as far as I understand, problems of the investors should be solved. If it happens, industrialists can find more customers. So certainties should be lifted to use this country as an industry hub. Yes. I'd like to add one thing. We're talking about cheap energy, cheap electricity. When we talk about cheap electricity, it is not to bring it from China. Cheap electricity means that making investments in renewable energy and giving up from fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are expensive, and they will stay expensive. In 2026, CBAM will be applied. And cheap energy, I'm not differentiating west or east. Companies that compete in fair conditions should be working with us. We should switch to clean energy, because when we say cheap energy, Chinese companies are perceived. However, it's not the case. The expensive one are the fossil fuels, and it has been proven already. So that's why it can't find a place for itself in the financing options. Okay, I'll go back to Arif. When we say Enercon, we are not only talking about a turbine supplier. Enercon is the first foreign investor in Turkey. You have produced your tower and you are producing your blade, and you have collaboration with Ateşkes. So you produce tower, blade, and transformers in your own facilities, and you're going to test your prototype in Turkey. So I'm sure that Turkey means more than just being a market for Enercon. And what can you say about the domestic market? Are you superior to your competitors in the internal market? How would you evaluate this? Because I couldn't ask the very question to your competitors. It wouldn't be politically correct. That's why I wanted to ask this to you. Okay, thank you so much. It's not about superiority, but maybe it's because we are crazy. We built the first production center, then We entered into the structure as an Archon, and we had our wind power plants in the past. That predictability issue, and also because of certain challenges, we found a way to develop a new business model. Well, we had to do certain things because it was a must. It was obligatory for us in order to sustain our business. Another important factor for our success is about trust, because I trust my colleagues and team members here. I thought that we could do this together when we wanted to take the steps. We realized all these ideas together, and it happened in this way. And last but not least, we said that the turbine that we launched in the global, this is my dream, by the way. Yes, turnover, KPI, sales, these are part of our lives, that's correct. But as a human being, how you touch, how you contribute your working place, and how you can serve your colleagues matters. It's not only about turnovers or money or other things. You have to leverage their engineering skills as well. You need to make them develop themselves. This is an area that I am dreaming of, really. For years, I've been following this, and I was always dreaming of this. And Enerjisa Üretim was that crazy investor. They trusted us, and they paved the way for us. They had this opportunity in Bandırma Energy Base. So it is not about superiority, because we are in the same sector. My dear colleagues are really important names. Of course, this is about commercial activities, yes, that's correct. But our main target is to create added value for our colleagues and friends, to add more on our customers' business. Because in this kind of activities, we need to make our employees more experienced and qualified. Because in this way, we will be better teachers to our new friends, and we can be better partners to our customers, so that they don't have to go to abroad and their technical expectations could be met. They'll see the ones that they are looking for in Turkey. They don't have to go to abroad. That's why we take certain actions. Of course, if it brings some superiority, there's nothing to do, right? Yes, thank you so much. Well, okay, we only have 5 minutes, but there are questions that I have to ask.
Şöyle özetleyeyim. 1 dakika süreyle soracağım soruları yalnız cevaplarsanız diğer yöneticilerimize söz vermek isterim. Ama ilk soracağım soruyu aslında birer dakika herkes aklına getirelim.
I'll only give 1 minute to those who'd like to answer to my questions, however you wish. There are many questions coming from LinkedIn, by the way. It's always about competition between West and East, because in East it's the case, and in West there's different scenarios because of the competition with Far Eastern countries. European producers are trying to survive financially, and there are politicians who are not indifferent to these problems. They try to take some actions in European Union level. They will take certain precautions. These preventive measures are going to be applied in Europe. So as Turkey, and as you are the representatives of European turbine producers, how is this going to be reflected to our country in terms of these preventive measures? Are we going to be differentiated from European countries positively or negatively? And to put it more frankly, can you please talk about this Chinese competition issue? Would like to take the floor, Ebru. Okay, thank you. Well,
Biz rekabetin tüm sektör paydaşlarını ileri taşıyacak
we
bir
believe that competition is an important dynamic which triggers all these stakeholders. Competition brings quality, it's really normal, but competition should be just and fair. There should be fair game areas, play grounds. If in a ground there are different subsidized players, then those players could be disruptive in the market. They will show negative impact on the market. So it has to be definitely considered. In Turkey, there are local wind producers, suppliers. This is very important for them because there are companies making investments here. And in addition to this, all of the sector investments are long-term investments. So initial investment capital should not be concentrated. Long-term thinking is a must. Company X can come here and make their sales, but if they disappear after it, it's going to be a big risk for the investors. Cybersecurity is very crucial when decisions are taken. Energy security is very crucial. So our recommendation is in line with European Union mechanisms. Those mechanisms should be implemented in Turkey because EU has a long-term perspective for these topics. They are more focusing on energy security about their local interests. Okay, thank you. It's really crystal clear. Anyone would like to make an addition? Arif, yes, please. Well, the US elections are going to be really important in the globe. Trump's reaction is very crucial against China because in the past he was very moderate, as you all know. So the cards are going to be reshuffled again. And yesterday, the CEO said that Europe needs Turkey. Well, it couldn't be more clear than this, right? Because Turkey does not constitute risk for European industry. We would like to play this game just and fair. And at this point, it could be Western or Eastern issue, but it is not the case. If one day we are at a position that could make sales, yeah, we can do it. European countries can't be doing activities in China, but Chinese are aggressive and they are not just and fair. Yes, fair competition is very important. Commercial competition is very important, and at this very point in Europe, and especially based on Wind Europe signals, I know that Ministry is also aware of the supports given to the industry. Well, the industry in Turkey, if we take proper decisions, Turkey can find a better place in Europe and it can shine even more brighter. Okay, I'd like to elaborate on my perspective. From time to time, we work with our friends here and there are some problems here.
Oturumlar olur, aralarında tatlıya bir yere gidersiniz. Derneklerle görüşme şansınız oluyor. Benim gördüğüm kadarıyla bizim
As far as I see,
bu şu anda buradaki Avrupalı
European
Türk üreticilerin
turbine producers
adil rekabet koşulları oluştuğu takdirde uzak doğu
will
firmalardan
not look for
herhangi
or will not have any fear from Far Eastern companies. It's all about just and fair competition conditions because there are YEKA mechanisms in Turkish Republic and the turbines that are going to be used in YEKA are already defined. 55 points localization must be facilitated. Well, turbine producers should be here and they should be competing. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Çin'de Çinli hariç en çok türbin kuran firması Vestas.
Vestas actually is the only company that is establishing the highest number of companies. We established a company in China, and we have decided to manufacture turbines for China, but it was blocked. We cannot do it. We don't have such an intention because we cannot compete with it. To be frank, European Union Well, yes, we are talking about the shareholders, but the Turkish industry should decide, I think, what's going to happen and what does the authorities say. I don't, of course, know the exact answers. I don't know if there would be any impairments or there would be maybe unfair competition, the rules. Would they be implemented or not? I do not know the responses. This is what we are curious about. When we talk about uncertainty, this is also what we mean. So I think the picture will become more visible if we can know the answers. And now we're over time, but maybe I can make another round of questions. And I would ask maybe just a word, maybe a single word as a reply. As you may know, we have RES pre-licenses. When we say the storage systems, what are your expectations for the storage systems for the coming years? If we have leaders who would like to maybe speak about this, we can also receive responses. 2026, Mr. Önder. 2025 for the storage. For the pre-licenses, it is going to be probably the end of 2026. Okay. Okay, great. Now let's continue with this other question for 2026 and 2027. We have received our notes, but for the coming 5 years, what would be your expectations? Within 10 years, how about the pre-licenses? How come they would be realized?
geçirse bence iyi bir hacim
İyi
olur.
miyiz diyorsunuz?
Yani
So it can be around like 7%. So any other? Five gigawatts. It is similar, right? Yes.
Bunun cevabını biliyormuş. Şimdi yani barınak depolamalarla ilgili gerekiyorsa aslında
If we have a requirement,
büyük depolama uç santralleri olarak EIH veya mülterisi tarafından kullanılmayacak noktalara yerleştirilmesi ve ardından bağlanacak santrallerden fiil alınması konusu baştan yapılması gereken bizim önerdiğimiz bir konu. Ama farklı şey. Bağlanan sistemde ne kadar açacak yine bilmiyorum. Cahil temelim. Entegrasyon yapmayacağım. Çünkü içinde çok kritik şeyler var. Henüz mevzuat verildi. Üzerine nasıl bağlayacaksınız?
so let's see if it would be anything like parallel or not. So if we have like a central, the mechanism would work differently. Last question. We should maybe either say yes or not. 25 years ago, actually, today, I said yes. So today is my marriage anniversary. Okay, a round of applause then for you, for Ender Özatay. Well, there's no chance of saying no, so my answer would be yes anyways to the question. I'll just ask the question. The installed power. they're the representatives of the four biggest firms. So in the end of coming 10 years, when we reach to 2035, top 5 turbine producers, when they are ranked, well, would there be any turbine producers? Would there be any Chinese, for example, or not? Yes. I would say yes. I already gave my answer, my word. No pressure, don't worry. Anybody else? Would we see any Chinese turbine producers in 2035? So let's record it. So we close the session. Thank you very much. It has been really fruitful.